Welcome into Factfinder Investigates. I'm Dylan Doming. In our ongoing investigation, GraceMed responding for the first time since Factfinder questioned the credentials of its now former CEO, Venus Lee. New details were revealed by GraceMed on what happened and how they are moving forward. Lee's resignation last week came just days after a Factfinder investigation looked into concerns regarding degrees that she claimed to have. Lee claims to have an MBA from Wichita State and a doctorate from Emory University, but there's no record of that, and she has still not been able to prove any degree. This week, GraceMed issued a statement apologizing for the confusion and uncertainty that situation created. It says that Lee was hired as GraceMed Chief Operating Officer back in 2010. That is when the organization was under a different leadership and employed a different HR team. When Lee moved to the role of CEO 4 years ago, the GraceMed board believed she was qualified based on her increasing leadership roles and academic leadership that she provided. GraceMed said that after conducting a thorough review, it's identified a potential point of vulnerability in its process and have taken immediate action to eliminate it moving forward. An interim CEO has been named at GraceMed. That is Dr. Julie Elder, who will lead the provider moving forward. Also this week, a Factfinder 12 investigation into an apparent IRS raid of an East Wichita accounting firm. Viewers sent us pictures of IRS agents outside of Bookkeeping N Beyond. Brandon Stitt looked into it.
Take a look at this as IRS agents are seen raiding Bookkeeping N Beyond. We already know the district attorney looked into the business and its owner, Nicole Clem. In January, the DA said Clem didn't file people's 2021 tax returns on time and misled them. Now, Clem's denied any intentional wrongdoing, but in a consent judgment, she agreed to pay $120,000 in civil penalties. I talked to another victim who is working through her own IRS penalties. She says we're brought on by doing business with Clem.
As starting my own business, you don't know what you're doing. I just knew that at a certain point I had to pay a bill to, the IRS to be able to keep going.
When Dr. Viner started Family First Chiropractic in Andover, she says she hired Bookkeeping N Beyond and Nicole Clem to help her with her finances.
I would meet her once a month, and at that point it was just bookkeeping and kind of trying to figure out where I was going to be sitting at the end of the year.
Dr. Viner was satisfied with Clem and even hired her to do her payroll. But she soon started hearing about other businesses having problems.
I wasn't worried about it. I didn't understand what anybody's issues were because nothing's happening to me.
After about 6 years with Clem, Dr. Viner hired another accountant.
I gave her packets from Bookkeeping N Beyond and said, this is what I have from all of my accounting. And my 941s weren't in there. So I wasn't as worried about it because I was like, it's in there somewhere. You got to find it. Until the IRS showed up at my door November 2nd.
Dr. Viner was told she had never filed a 941, an IRS document for employee taxes.
So basically, money was coming out of my account every 2 weeks to pay for taxes, but the IRS had no idea. And so what was happening is she was either late or she wasn't filing it.
2 quarters of taxes weren't paid at all. Clem eventually paid those late taxes, but not the penalties.
That's the part that sucks is even though I hired somebody, it comes back on me. It's my responsibility.
Now Dr. Viner has to work with the IRS in hopes to get the $14,000 in penalties waived. But the hardest part is Clem was a friend.
I don't even know how to explain it, but it was heartbreaking to see that one of my friends was not just doing it to me, but doing it to other people. And the hardest part is I had actually referred people to her.
Several other victims have reached out to us expressing their frustration with Clem. As far as what the IRS was looking for during that raid, we don't know.
Brandon, thank you. We do have a follow-up to a Factfinder 12 report from last week. The Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services wants Medicare beneficiaries to know that 3 programs are in place to help keep victims safe of suspected fraud. A recent Factfinder 12 investigation looked into an alleged multi-billion-dollar fraud scheme targeting those with Medicare. Dozens of you reached out to us saying Medicare paid out thousands of dollars on your behalf for hundreds of catheters that were never received or used. Officials saw our report and then reached out to let us know about programs that are available for Kansans. If you have Medicare and believe you've been impacted, you can call their toll-free number at 800-860-5260. That's the number on your screen. Volunteers will answer your questions and help you report any errors. Imagine a $2,000 water bill that says you used 153,000 gallons of water. It happened to a Wichita man after a pipe burst under his apartment during January's sub-freezing temperatures. The question that was brought to Factfinder 12, who's on the hook for that bill? Brandon Stitt looked into it.
This past January, Wichita saw record low temperatures. For Reginald Spicer, the cold was bad enough. Then this.
It was on a Sunday, and I heard something down in this area here, like a lot of water.
At first, he thought it was water coming from the neighboring apartment, but the gushing kept on. Thinking it must be a busted pipe, he went to take a look in the basement. When Reginald came outside, he saw water all the way up to the doorknob. He calls the city. They came out, shut the water off. Next, he calls his landlord. They send someone and fix the busted pipe. But that's not the end of the story.
On February 5th, I believe, I got Public Works bill notice for 153,000 gallons of water, saying that I owe $2,007.12. And I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
To put it in perspective, that's enough water to fill more than a dozen home swimming pools.
I don't even use 750 gallons.
He took his predicament to the city of Wichita.
And they told me that I'm responsible because the water line that connects the unit connects to the water meter. They still want to charge me for something that is not my responsibility.
So whose responsibility is it? Because the water meter is in Reginald's name, the bill comes to him. But the city of Wichita does make adjustments for leaks like this. All they ask for is proof that the leak has been fixed and the water use goes back to normal. The city has since adjusted the bill by more than $1,800, and the landlord, Point Guard Management, has now taken care of the rest. For Factfinder 12, I'm Brandon Stitt.
Oh my God, my car is parked down there.
It just depends on the type of parking structure, and if I see the lack of maintenance, I don't park in it.
A warning to park at your own risk. We investigate the lack of regulations on aging parking structures coming up next.